As I go through this journey, I meet with so many new people, new customers, or even the previous customers that have put so much trust in me that I have become so passionate about running Retisoft.
That was Elizabeth Rodziewicz, president of Retisoft, a leading provider of advanced laboratory automation systems and scheduling software empowering life science laboratories to streamline workflows, integrate instrumentation, and accelerate research productivity. With a smart approach to automation built around their flagship dynamic scheduler, Genera, and customizable robotic solutions, Retisoft helps scientists and lab leaders enhance efficiency, improve data quality, and scale automated processes. Welcome to the Biotech Stack, where we explore the cutting-edge technology fueling the future of life sciences and biotech. From next-generation lab automation and AI-driven drug discovery to breakthrough biomanufacturing and research tools, we dive deep into the innovations transforming health, food, energy, and the businesses behind them. I'm Corinne Regan, your host. And in today's episode, I'm joined by Elizabeth, president of Retisoft. We hear about Elizabeth's journey into the scientific world almost 30 years ago to join her husband, Paul, so they could create a powerful solution for the automation community. We discuss Retisoft's leadership in supporting LRIG in Canada, their continued support at SLAS, and Retisoft's commitment to driving innovation across drug discovery, high-throughput screening, and scientific research environments worldwide. Let's get started. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do want to kick things off and have you walk us through your background and how you became part of Retisoft.
Yeah, thank you so much, Corinne, for having me here. It's really a pleasure to be part of the podcast today. So to give you a little bit of a background about me, I originally came from Ecuador. In Ecuador, I was doing a lot of sales, marketing, event organization, and then I immigrated to Canada in 2005. And that's when I got the opportunity to be part of Retisoft, partly because the owner and founder of the company, Paul, he was my husband as well. And he really wanted to foster a family business. He saw other couples and family running businesses in his lifetime. And he said, he will really enjoy and be pleased to have me around as well to help him out with Retisoft. And I'm so glad that I actually accepted that challenge because it was a challenge at the moment. I didn't have a lot of background in the life science and automation industry, so I don't come from an engineering background as well. But he was in the way that he wanted me to learn a lot about the industry. He already had a passion for it. He started the company a while ago before I came to Canada, and he was already involved with a lot of companies selling the software, learning as well as he started the business, what were the biggest challenges in the industry. So he involved me there quite a bit, and I was able to have hands-on on many of the biggest projects and proposals, getting to know the customers that we had, our partners, which was a big thing for Retisoft as well, since we were a small company and we still are, that we partner up with a lot of businesses and technology companies and other providers in the industry to be able to provide other services that we don't currently have internally as in the business. So that's how it started in 2005. Unfortunately, in 2014, Paul passed away. And that was one of the biggest challenges that I would say, not only because we lost him, and obviously, that was a big loss for the company, but we had the opportunity to continue his legacy and his passion, because the business for him was a true passion. He loved the industry, the people that he knew. Everybody that met him had a very good feeling that he was not just doing business for money. He was there to make a difference. And that's where we said, we had to continue that because it was a really big project. Especially because he knew the gaps that were in the industry at the time. So there was a lot of gaps between technology and the science and the user of those, that somebody had to come up with a software and something to bring everything together. And that's where, he put a lot of his time putting features and tools into the software that later became Genera, to make it, market and user friendly, I would say.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear about your loss, but it is a wonderful thing the way that you describe being able to continue his legacy. And I think that's a very special thing. And hopefully that has helped pull you along here this last decade. So,
Yeah,
um,
it's been over a decade that I've been running the business on my own, I would say, but still with a lot of what he taught me. But the thing right now is that I would have to say it's my project as well. So this has become my part of my life. It's so embedded in me. The people that as I go through this journey, I meet with so many new people, new customers, or even the previous customers that have put so much trust in me that I have become so passionate about running Retisoft. And, even my employees that are currently here with us, the people that have worked with us through this time, it's incredible to see how much commitment and love they have for what we're doing.
I love that. And I love that on this side of it, when you talk about the technology and the tools that are being used to help foster and further scientific advancements, there's that much passion in this side too. And it's that's great. I love that.
Yes.
So you've kind of danced around some of the things that Retisoft provides. Could you go into a little bit more detail? I know you said it before that you don't have the technical background. I'm sure after almost 30 years you do now. Maybe going into that, what is the service offerings? What are the things that Retisoft offers?
Yes. So primarily we started as a software company, and that was the main core business of Retisoft. And as we grew and as we started to see what else was in the market, the technologies out there, we saw the need of adding other products to our portfolio. So we are actually a full system integration company. We can provide the entire solution to the customer, as depends on what their requirements are and their needs are. We have people in our team that can understand their scientific requirements, so the workflow requirements, and then transform that into an automated workflow. And from there, choosing, because we are agnostic, which is one of the advantages that we have had for the entire time that we are in business, we can really help them choosing their best technology to fit within their scientific process. So that's where, we can build, and we have the advantage as well to work with partners like Brooks Automation that have, a very flexible and precise robot, safe robot that we can actually build the systems around it and make it really configurable and easy to use. So there are a lot of technologies in the market that are being used across the entire, life science industry, that we can adapt them to put them into our solutions. So that's where Retisoft can really give you the tools basically to run the workflow and make sure that the end result of it is a successful result for the lab that we are working with.
Gotcha. So are you market specific then or not? Because this is just a software that's helping to integrate different systems for automation. So are you, focused on life sciences, government, food and beverage? Where are you guys primarily focused on?
That's a good question. And we've been across many labs. So it's mostly in life science, and I would say mostly in the research labs. But we have worked with agricultural research companies, as well as academic labs, hospitals. We've had some government projects as well that we have fulfilled. And then it's really, it's open still to many more like biotech and pharma companies as well. So we have some big customers in that area as well. And still, the future, it gives us a lot of more opportunities. So we want to be more involved with the preclinical diagnostics labs as well, which during COVID, diagnostics labs opened up a lot of, their possibilities in terms like they wanted to do automation, and they overcame a lot of obstacles at that time to be able to put those, diagnostics labs to process faster I would say, samples at that time that was the need as well. Yeah.
So is that your ideal customer at the moment, this clinical, preclinical, or do you have an ideal customer when you're out there in the market?
Well, our ideal customer is basically in the research area, where there are a lot of our customers that see the potential with our software, that are automation engineers, and also they have their automation engineering group in-house. And the reason why they feel so excited about using our software and our solutions is because we give them a lot of flexibility when it comes to, first of all, designing their system, and then being hands-on with the software. So we don't lock them up with any of the features that are built into the software. We actually have an open architecture built into the software, which is not open source, and that can be, confusing a little bit. But when it's open architecture, means that they can write their own programs within our software, and they can customize and integrate a lot of the tools around their automation. So it's not only the equipment that they're automating, but also integration with databases, Lens. Perhaps some other things that they are building within their actually ecosystem internally, that they can hook it up to AI engines or vision tools or things like that. And I've seen like major advancements in labs that are starting with using Genera as the core, and then they progress with their automation as their teams need to make it more user friendly, to avoid errors around the lab, user errors, most importantly, to keep track of how things are going, and they can put a lot of tools within the software because it's really built to be able to integrate easily with other platforms.
You've mentioned Genera a few times. So is this essentially your core package, and do you have additional packages that as labs grow or get larger and the infrastructure gets more complicated, you can then evolve into?
Yeah, so that's also an interesting thing that they connected. We had multiple programs or products that I would say we built in ways to target different applications. But then with the time, and that was before Paul passed away, that he decided to merge everything into one product, which became Genera. So that is our scheduling software. It's a dynamic scheduler. And it's I would say it's a complete integration framework. It's not just a scheduler, it's an integration framework that can help you, manage your entire automation system. And then from there, we have split, or I would say probably we created within the Genera framework different tiers, or what we say is editions. So depending on the complexity of the project, how much you need in terms of scheduling features, as well as how many devices you're running. So for example, a system that is just a walk-away system that needs a reader feeder kind of thing, we have a Genera Lite edition. And from there, we grow into Standard and Pro. And Pro is an unlimited edition that you can integrate as many devices as you need to, as well as many robots as you need to in the system. There are cases that you have multiple robots as well, handling different sides of the workstation. So that is how we have managed our software. And from there, you can add, instrument connections, what we call it, which are the connection to the device that you're controlling through Genera.
So it sounds like there are some other maybe competitors on the market in this space, these schedulers, integration technologies. Are there some things that might differentiate Retisoft's scheduler or these different Genera type tiers on the market?
Yeah, I think, within what we have done our research and talking to our customers, seeing how they use Genera, the most important part is the way we have built the software structure, the architecture and design of the software is really fast for us to be able to debug or add as well features to it. So it becomes the support side of the software is one key element that we find that a lot of our customers give us extremely good feedback. They say, we as soon as we reach out to your team, you have a very good process to service and to be able to debug or do any changes to the software. So we have a very knowledgeable team as well on the application side as well as the development side. The other thing will be, I would say, well, it's a very mature product. So as you said before, we are at the 27 year in the business. It started in our 28, and that's a long way to go. And because of that knowledge that we have built into the industry, we really have put in the effort of putting the features that are needed in the lab, so you can actually have a quick deployment and then start running as soon as possible. We try to make that as effective as possible because I've had an opportunity to talk to customers and they tell me, the other competitors take a year or two to deliver their solutions. And to me, I find that very, to me, I find that it's difficult to understand how a lab can wait that long, because the whole goal in the industry at where we are right now is to speed up the research process. And one thing is that AI is coming into the play. So that is going to speed up a lot of things, and it's already doing that. We are seeing, a lot of drug development and even some drugs that are in the clinical stage already that have been AI developed with the help of AI. So we want to make sure that we don't put a stall on those projects, because partly, and that's my mission as personally, is that unfortunately my husband had a disease that had no cure or treatment or any hope at that moment, which is very frustrating for a person that gets to to talk to a doctor, and the doctor will tell you there's nothing we can do, just wait. And I put into my own purpose of life that if anything I can do to speed something up, even if it's something little, I know we are in a very small part of the process, entire research, and I know it takes years, but I'm very excited to see that now things are moving so much faster. Like drugs are being approved faster, and they're, even with COVID, we saw how many options came up so quickly, like the treatment or therapy or some, and the vaccines as well. That at that time, everybody was putting their eyes on our industry, seeing like what is going to happen. We wanted to go back to our normal life, and that's what these labs are doing. And they're really striving for changing lives, like a day-to-day life. For example, as you don't want your kid or your family or your husband to go and receive the news that you don't have an option.
And you are right. The speed of science is going to be affected by the speed of the technology, which can get you to those answers. And so that is everyone's big claim, right? We'll get there faster, but then it takes a year to install or get up and running or implement. And so I do like that that's your mission, that if it's truly about speed, let's be fast from the start.
Yes.
That's a great mission. Well, with over 30 years of experience, or up to almost 30 years of experience, what are some of the things you've seen in this space evolve? I'm sure the software for automation 27 years ago was a lot different than what you're facing now, and how that whole industry has evolved as a whole. Do you have any insights into that?
Yeah, it's been a huge change, I would say. From when we started, I remember we were using industrial robots in the lab, and then all of a sudden things started to change. Collaborative robots came into play, and now that's the standard, making it easier for the user. And that's one thing about our industry, that really the user wants to be, like, it needs to be working together with the automation. You cannot separate that at this moment. So that has been the way it's going. As the more they want to be able to be part of the process, and there are tools that are being built to make it more user friendly, easier to start a run, almost like targeting the scientist rather than having an automation person in house. So the easier you make it, the better it will be for more automation to be implemented in the labs. And that's something we have been working on for the last year or so, to provide, solutions that can tackle really small tasks, almost like, like I mentioned before, a reader feeder solution that you just want to give them some time away from the equipment so they can do their actually data analysis and then come back to just get the results.
So we have groups that have formed over time, such as LRIG. You're currently an executive member of the LRIG Canada chapter. Can you talk a little bit more about that group and this specific chapter?
Yeah, so LRIG, I have been attending the US chapters for multiple years as well. So that was one of our target groups that we will attend to different, like most importantly was the New England chapter, the Midwest chapter, as well as some of the in the West Coast. And with that, as we were, I was connecting to more people in Canada. I always thought there is not a group in Canada that is targeting laboratory robotics. There were other groups, but not a laboratory robotics interest group in Canada. And I was fortunate enough to have other people that I met that had the same vision. And in 2022, we decided to incorporate as a non-for-profit organization here in Canada, covering the entire Canadian territory. So technically, we are one of the biggest chapters in the LRIG global community because we're covering the entire Canadian territory. And we have founding members that are in different areas in the country. So we have one person in the West Coast in Vancouver. We have 2 people here in Toronto, and then other 2 people in Montreal, which it's great because we have been able to organize the symposiums in all these different cities, and the community has been growing since. So 2023 was our first meeting, and we received an overwhelming support from vendors that wanted to sponsor the meeting because they were also excited to see that Canada has a place where they can come and showcase their technologies. And then we went to Toronto and Vancouver. This year was an exceptional meeting. Lots of vendors, a lot of attendees. I would say even from there, we have already people interested in the next year's meeting, which is in Montreal. So I've seen in the most interesting part of it is that we wanted to foster the networking because there are a lot of initiatives that are being driven in Canada to build automation. And for the most part, it's been thought that everything is being sent to the US labs or partners that they have for the automation part and the research. There are projects that are being started here, but then they send everything to US. Now, we want to be able to give them, bring the knowledge and the tools and what is available at this moment to this market to see what can they do in here and what is possible and connect those groups in one big network. And that has been happening during these years. We have also been organizing a lot of social events. Recently, we've had one in Vancouver, Montreal, and Toronto, and we will continue doing that because we find that is a really good place to just connect people. And then also gather more volunteers because it's amazing the amount of work that goes behind all these LRIG events. And, kudos to everybody that is a volunteer or an active member or someone that is in the board, because it comes to be, a lot of marketing and event planning. There's, making sure that the vendors and the sponsors are also getting their, return for what they're investing on us. And I'm very fortunate that I have been able to work with a great group in Canada that are really passionate about what we are doing.
That's great. I mean, it's great that Canada is growing and that you're able to help foster the networking component, because it sounds like this is more of a networking and maybe like user group meeting than it is maybe traditional talks, or is it a little bit of both?
We have a little bit of both. So our symposium has speakers, and we select them really carefully to make sure that the content that is bringing here to our attendees is valuable. And for the most part, I mean, everybody has been very pleased with what they are seeing. It's mostly cases of labs using automation, deploying automation, talking about new technologies, and also applications. And that's where, it is a little bit of both. I mean, networking is a key part of LRIG, but also the content, the educational part. We want to make sure that we continue providing educational material, uh, and a place for new, people that want to enter the industry to see where the potential, careers are. And that's another goal that we have in the next year, that we want to build a career forum for people to share, opening positions, as well as what, some people in Canada are looking for. And there's a lot of great talent here in Canada as well.
So in addition to LRIG, there's also obviously a huge group, which is SLAS.
Yes, definitely. We do that every year. So I've been very involved with SLAS for a very long time, participating in a lot of volunteering groups, which are, partly to be able to provide feedback about from the technology providers. So we have the TPAC group, which is the Technology Provider Advisory Group, and then right now is the Women Leadership, which kind of help building the program for the Thrive in Science Women Forum. And for that, I'm extremely excited, because this is the first time SLAS is organizing a very dedicated 2 day, 1 day and a half event after SLAS. There has been a lot of other groups, for women in leadership, women in science, that have been running in, I think, in Europe, some in the US as well. And SLAS kind of brought people from different places in the world, women especially, to build a committee that they can give feedback, and we can help them create this program. And it's all on them. They did create an amazing program with excellent speakers. It's going to be, half day of social kind of lingering around with the other women that are going to be there. But the Thursday, which is the full day, we'll have speaking sessions. We are also going to have coaching sessions, networking time. And I think that is going to be an extraordinary thing for women in science, women in leadership, but also anyone that wants to be part of it. So it can be men that are working with women as well, that want to come and see how they can support and help them grow in their careers. Anyone that can that will want to be attending there, it will be welcome.
That's great. That's a really great program. So just to confirm that this is an SLAS event that is taking place directly after the SLAS traditional event has ended.
Mm-hmm,
and it is
correct.
the Thrive in Science, a women leadership program. That is the day and a half event happening right after SLAS.
Correct. I think Wednesday 11th and Thursday the 12th of February.
That's great. I'm really excited to see how that program progresses, and the feedback. I'd love to maybe even touch base with you after to hear about that feedback on how the event goes.
Yes, definitely. I will be there for sure. I have seen a lot of interest growing already for signing up. You don't need to participate at SLAS conference if you want to just sign up for it. That's it's a possibility. You can also sign up together when you're registering for SLAS, and add it to your registration after you have registered. So there are multiple ways that you can make sure to be part of it, but I would strongly recommend. And that is something that I noticed from when I started at Retisoft, that most of the meetings, conversations, leads, and people I was talking to was men. And it's been, changing. Fortunately, it's been changing quite a bit. So I have the pleasure and honor to work with a lot of women that are in leadership positions, as well as, business owners or in the lab running their automation as well, which is awesome. And we want that to grow and foster that as well within the community, and that we can feel that we are supported, that if we have experience on our side from the different perspectives, like in my case, from, a business owner perspective, or in the lab, doing engineering and automation or science, that you can connect with those people and help you as coaching. Coaching is a huge part of your career. And I think everybody should be able to access those tools, because it can take you to another level of your career. And that's what coaching has done for me so far.
That's great. And I do like that you're highlighting that, this is a very male dominated industry. It's engineering focused, it's automation focused. So to have that support network branch into not only females in the field, but females in the leadership component of this field is, I think, a wonderful program to have available.
Yes, absolutely.
Speaking of, we'll call it some challenges on that topic, there have been challenges over the last year, especially there's been challenges in the past in the scientific community in the automation space. What are some of those things, maybe some of those challenges that you've seen, and perhaps how is Retisoft, going to face those challenges?
So challenges in the way, there are multiple challenges, I would say, of labs that have not been exposed to automation, and they are very afraid of it because they are thinking that this is going to take on their jobs, and they don't see the potential of how they can grow with the automation as well. So that was and has been a huge challenge for a long time. When I used to go to other conferences, not SLAS, but other conferences that were not automation focused, and I would ask them, do you have automation? Are you looking to automate any of your processes? And they will respond, we have students in the lab. Yeah, thank you. I was like, wow, like a human robot, basically. Like they will get these younger people to start doing things that were monotonous and, nothing exciting. And from there, we have grown quite a bit. So I think the adopting automation has changed. People are less afraid of technology, especially the new generations. And now they are all about technology. So it's more like they come prepared for that. So that is one of the things. The other challenges are the previous experiences where we see labs that have invested a huge amount of money and their automation is still not functioning, it's not working. They have their management, their leadership asking for results when they see a huge amount of money being thrown into the automation, and there's nothing to report out of that. So thank you. Come as a provider that says, I can help you and I can make it work for you, they have their doubts. So you really have to prove it, and that there's a process going there to get them to trust you, to say, okay, I'm going to invest, but I don't have all the investment money that I had at the beginning. So that is a frustrating feeling, because I wish that in cases we could have been from the beginning of the project, that we can start talking about it and see where their challenges were. And I think mostly is understanding that sometimes automation, you have to build it into stages. You don't need to go and jump into the full automated solution. If you're learning about it, let's start from something smaller, where you get hands-on, that you can get you can learn the solution, the software as well, the technology, the robot, how everything works together, and then you build towards the next steps. And with that, the investment, the time, everything gets, it's more effective than just trying to completely adopt a whole solution that after 2 years or 3 years, it's just collecting dust. And that's what upsets me the most when I see labs that have equipment that is doing nothing when you could actually be using it for something very effective, and to help you in your research in the day to day. If you have studied for so many years in to become a scientist and to do, or an engineer, you want to be able to show the outcome of your work, and it's not going and pipetting a full day or putting labels on plates or
Right.
tubes. it,
Right.
and you come from a scientific background, so you know how that frustrated could be.
Right, right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, if it can solve simple problems. But yeah, I guess I never really thought about it that way where people are frustrated. It's because they dive in too deep and they get everything under the sun, and then it becomes overwhelming and you've learned maybe, 10% of every part of it, and then it just falls apart. So, it's an interesting approach to say, let's peel it all back. Let's start simple. Even though automation seems like it's not a simple process, if you can make it simple, then you can grow with it and it'll be really effective.
Yes, that's what we've been working for the last year on, simplifying what the automation, for just targeting specific applications, and then bringing it at a level of it can be cost effective, as well as saying, okay, you are a scientist in the lab. It will be easy enough to put it together yourself. And for that, it was funny because I did take the solution and build it up myself to make sure that the person without an automation. I mean, I know automation now after all these years, but I still wanted to make sure that I can put it together without the help of an engineer next to me, because it will make me understand how the user will feel when they receive the product. And I remember from the very beginning when, Paul was testing a new edition or a new release of the software, he will ask me to use it. And yeah, thank you. See how I will interact with it. And that's part of the development, because you want to make sure that the person that is on the other side, that is going to use it every day, that doesn't have the same knowledge as you have as a developer, then they will understand what you're trying to do with the software. So that's something that we are trying. I mean, we're encouraging within the team. First, let's use it ourselves, make sure that it works for us. How we, if we make any assumptions or things that normally you don't see it because you are developing the product. But then when you get into the lab, also let's give the user the opportunity to test it before they can even buy it. Let's give them the opportunity to feel it, and also feel how it is to work with our team, because you're kind of entering a partnership. It's not a one-time sale. This is a partnership for the long run.
Right, right. And I do like that approach of, approach it as if you're teaching it to a fifth grader, not somebody who's got, a PhD in automation and someone who can understand all the nuance, but somebody who's seeing it for the first time and is going to come across questions that you would never even think they'd come across. So it is the right way, I think, of how to approach presenting that to the marketplace by doing it yourself first without all that knowledge. That's great. Well, we've had an opportunity to learn a lot about yourself and the company, which has been really great. I'd love to ask where perhaps we could follow you into 2026. Is there any particular conferences or user group meetings that might be happening over the year that our audience could follow you at?
Yeah, for sure. For sure, SLAS 2026. That's our biggest show. We'll be there. Yeah, thank you. Remember the booth number, 1627. But anyways, we will be there. We're really looking forward to connect with everybody at the show. We have a lot of partners that will be showcasing our software as well. So you can find us across the exhibit floor with Genera solutions. But the next events, we are still building our schedule for the LRIG events. So we will be at LRIG in Canada for sure, in Montreal. That's probably going to be around end of May or the beginning of June. So we haven't released the dates yet. We're waiting for that. And then we will be at the LRIG in New England. So that is kind of like the events that we normally have them all set in the schedule. But the other events we'll be looking at, perhaps I'll be attending the SLAS Europe in Vienna, and that's looking to be also a very extraordinary event. I wasn't able to attend this year, but they had a user meeting in Vienna, and that was quite a nice event as well. So I've heard great things about the city, and people looking forward to go and attend that event.
Well, it sounds like there's lots of exciting stuff on the horizon for 2026 and ways for us to see you in action.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was great. I appreciate it.
We'd like to thank our guest, Elizabeth Rodziewicz, president at Retisoft, for joining us on the Biotech Stack. For more information on Elizabeth or Retisoft, please check the links in our show notes below. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.